They realized their greatest mistake. Part 1. Admiral Ilara Voss stood motionless in the center of the vast judgment chamber, her breathing steady despite the weight of 7 trillion lives resting on her shoulders. The chamber rose around her like a living mountain, tier upon tier of alien delegates stretching upward until the highest balconies disappeared into shadow. Every species in the known galaxy had sent representatives, and all eyes, sensory organs, and perception arrays were fixed on the lone human. The Council recognizes Earth's emissary, announced High Arbiter Nexteral, his voice booming across the chamber without any visible amplification technology. The 6-limbed being towered 4 meters tall, iridescent scales rippling with colors no human eye could fully perceive. You stand before the assembled wisdom of 1,412 spacefaring civilizations, some of which were crossing the stars when your kind still huddled in caves. Ilara fought the urge to fidget with her uniform. She was the first human to stand before the Galactic Council, an honor she never wanted. Behind her, projected on a massive holographic display, floated the evidence against Earth. Their quantum research facilities, the breakthrough that allowed humans to fold spacetime in ways the Council claimed violated galactic law. Humanity stands accused of violating Protocol 7 Alpha, unauthorized quantum manipulation beyond sanctioned parameters. Nixterel continued. How do you plead, representative of Earth? Ilara lifted her chin. Earth acknowledges our development of independent quantum technology, but we reject that this constitutes any violation of galactic law. A wave of murmurs swept through the assembly. The Vargosian delegation, silicon-based warriors known for their military might, rose in protest. The humans have barely achieved interstellar travel, hissed Ambassador Krall of the Vargosian Empire, his crystalline body glinting under the chamber lights. Yet they presume to challenge technologies that have taken established species millennia to perfect and regulate. This is exactly why Directive 119 exists, to prevent primitive species from obtaining power beyond their wisdom. Ilara didn't flinch. The directive you cite applies to species granted protectorate status under Council supervision. Earth never signed such agreements, because you were deemed too volatile for contact, shouted another representative, a floating collection of gaseous spheres. Yet here I stand, Ilara countered, having navigated to your hidden Council world without your permission or assistance. The chamber erupted in outrage. Extoral raised all 6 limbs for silence, and gradually the noise subsided. Admiral Voss, he said, voice suddenly gentle, almost patronizing. Your species has stumbled upon technologies that could unravel the fabric of reality itself. The Council has observed Earth for centuries. Your wars, your environmental crises, your divisive politics, these do not inspire confidence. A new holographic projection appeared, Earth's history of conflicts, from ancient battles to modern warfare. May I approach the evidence terminal? Ilara asked. Extoral hesitated, then nodded. Ilara placed her hand on the terminal. The holographic display shifted, showing new images. Earth's environmental restoration projects, unified global governance, the peaceful integration of artificial intelligence, quantum humanitarian efforts. You've been watching us, but perhaps not closely enough, she said. And something tells me that's deliberate. The Council chamber grew quiet. We discovered your observation satellites decades ago, Ilara revealed. We've known about the Galactic Council since before our first moon landing. What we couldn't understand was why you kept us isolated, why you redirected all approaching ships away from our solar system. She tapped the terminal again. New images appeared. Ancient artifacts uncovered on Earth with markings matching those on Council buildings. Until we found these, Earth wasn't just another developing world, was it? It was quarantined, and I think it's time we knew why. Before Nextrel could respond, alarm sirens blared throughout the chamber. A frantic aide rushed to the High Arbiter, whispering urgently. Extoral's scales flashed crimson with shock. The human delegation ship has deployed unknown devices throughout our defense grid. Our systems are compromised. All eyes turned to Ilara, who remained perfectly composed. This was meant to be a diplomatic mission, she said. But we came prepared for other possibilities. Now shall we discuss terms as equals? Or does the Galactic Council formally declare its intentions toward Earth? The chamber fell silent as delegates exchanged nervous glances. Finally, Nexteral spoke, his voice cold as space itself. The Council has reached its verdict. Earth represents an unacceptable threat to galactic stability. By unanimous decision, we hereby declare a state of war against the planet Earth and all its colonies. Ilara nodded once. Then you should know the devices we planted aren't weapons. They're communicators. Everything that has happened in this chamber has been transmitted live to Earth. She turned to address the entire council. You've just declared war on a planet you know almost nothing about. That, I believe, is your first mistake. As she spoke, hidden quantum transmitters throughout the council world activated. In that moment, the balance of power shifted in ways the galaxy's oldest species could not yet comprehend. Earth had been preparing for this day longer than anyone suspected. They realized their greatest mistake. Part 2. 2 weeks after the Council's declaration, Supreme Commander Thex of the Vargosian battle fleet stood on the bridge of the dreadnought Inevitable Conquest, leading the first wave of the galaxy's punitive force against Earth. Behind his vessel, 5,000 warships from 17 species stretched across the void, the largest military coalition in galactic history. Approaching Sol system perimeter, Commander, reported his navigation officer, a being of pure energy contained within a crystalline exoskeleton. Estimated time to Earth orbit, 6 hours. Thex nodded, his own crystalline body glinting under the bridge lights. Any response from the humans? None, Supreme Commander. No transmissions, no defensive positioning. Their orbital platforms remain in standard configuration. They're either fools or planning something, Thex muttered. Full sensor sweep. I want every cubic meter of this system analyzed. The fleet advanced cautiously toward Earth, weapons charged, shields at maximum. Hours passed with unsettling silence from the human world. On Earth, in the underground strategic command center beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral Ilara Voss stood with the Unified Earth Defense Council. Screens displayed the approaching armada in real time. They've passed Mars orbit, reported General Marcus Rivera, his weathered face grim. Still no sign they've detected our preparations. President Anya Kapoor, the first leader of Earth's unified government, studied the tactical display. Admiral Voss, you've met these beings. Do they understand what they're walking into? No, Madam President, Ilara replied. That's precisely what I was counting on when I provoked their declaration. The Council has observed our visible technology, our obvious weapons. They've never seen what we've kept hidden. Dr. Darius Wright, head of Quantum Defense Research, stepped forward. Phase shield grid is ready. Operation Labyrinth can commence on your command. President Kapoor looked around the room at humanity's leadership. We didn't want this war. We sought peaceful contact for decades. But if the galaxy wants to test humanity's resolve, she nodded to Admiral Voss. Initiate Labyrinth. In space, Thex's fleet approached Earth's orbit. Curious, he remarked, studying the sensor readings. Their defenses are minimal. A few orbital platforms, rudimentary energy shields. Nothing that could withstand even a fraction of our force. His tactical officer, a multi-limbed Navorian, appeared troubled. Supreme Commander, something's not right. The human defense posture doesn't match their technological capabilities. Based on what we observed with their quantum breakthrough, they should have more. The officer's words were cut short as space itself seemed to shift. What was that? Thex demanded as alerts blared across his bridge. Spatial anomaly, sir. Massive distortion in local space-time. Before Thex could respond, the stars around the fleet began to change position. Earth, which had been directly ahead, now appeared to be behind them. Impossible, Thex snarled. Navigational error. Recalibrate and— No error, Commander. The navigator interrupted, panic evident. We're in the same physical location, but something has altered space itself around us. On hundreds of ships, similar confusion reigned. The Armada, which had been in tight formation, now found itself scattered across a spatial labyrinth. Ships that had been kilometers apart now read as being light years from each other, though visually they appeared unchanged. Back on Earth, Dr. Wright explained. We've activated the quantum labyrinth. Their fleet is trapped in a pocket of folded spacetime. They can see each other, even communicate. But to navigate to any actual location in normal space would require them to solve the quantum equations we've embedded in the very fabric of the distortion. And if they try to force their way through? Asked President Kapoor. The laws of physics will enforce our solution, Dr. Wright replied. Any attempt to move through normal space without solving the equations will result in them traveling in loops, never reaching their destination. Admiral Voss watched the confused movements of the enemy fleet. How long before they figure it out? At their current level of quantum understanding? Years, possibly decades. In space, Supreme Commander Thex stared at the bewildering sensor readings. His mighty armada, the pride of 17 worlds, effectively neutralized without a single shot fired. "Send a communication to the Council," he ordered, his voice hollow. "The humans, they've weaponized mathematics itself." Throughout the Sol system, Earth's defenses remained on high alert, but no shots were fired, no lives lost. In a war declared by the galaxy's most powerful alliance, the first battle had been won with an equation. As reports reached the Galactic Council, the implications became clear. This would not be the swift punishment they had envisioned. Earth had revealed itself as something unprecedented, a young species with capabilities that defied explanation. They realized their greatest mistake. Part 3. High Arbiter. Nextoral stood alone in the Council's strategy chamber, watching holographic representations of the trapped fleet. 3 months had passed since Operation Labyrinth immobilized the galaxy's greatest military force, and the political fallout had been catastrophic. "Enter," he called as the chamber door signaled an arrival. Elder Maris of the Thalasian Accord glided in, her levitating platform humming softly. As the oldest living being in the Council and representative of one of the galaxy's first spacefaring species, her word carried immense weight. "You've seen the latest reports?" she asked without preamble. Extoral's scales rippled with frustration. 17 more systems have withdrawn from the war effort. The Proximan Confederation is calling for my resignation. "The Proximans are pragmatists," Maris said, "as are the others. No one anticipated this stalemate?" "Stalemate?" Nixtoral hissed. "Our most powerful fleet is trapped in a mathematical prison. Our best minds cannot untangle the humans' quantum equations. This is not a stalemate, Elder. This is defeat without battle. Perhaps it's time to consider diplomatic solutions." "Diplomacy? With a species that should never have been allowed to develop in the first place?" Nixtoral's scales flushed dark with anger. "You know what they are? What they might remember given time." Maris's ancient eyes narrowed. "Most of the Council does not share your knowledge of Earth's true history, Arbiter. Perhaps it's time to reveal those sealed records. And cause further panic? The sealed archives stay sealed." Nextoral moved to a secure terminal, activating a classified communication channel. "There are other options. I've authorized Operation Sundering." Maris recoiled. "You've deployed the Void Harvesters without Council approval?" "Emergency powers granted to me upon the declaration of war." The Harvesters were developed to counter quantum-level threats from beyond the galaxy's edge, not to be used against a single planet. "This violates every ethical protocol. Ethics won't matter if the humans unlock their full potential." Nextoral interrupted. "The Harvesters will enter Sol system in 6 days. They'll collapse the quantum labyrinth and then eliminate Earth's ability to manipulate spacetime permanently. Meanwhile, on Earth's moon, in the newly constructed Tranquility Diplomatic Center, Ambassador Jared Keyes represented humanity in the first direct negotiations with Council species who had broken ranks. Representatives from 27 worlds that withdrew from the war effort had arrived seeking understanding and alliance. "Let me be clear," Jared stated to the assembled aliens. "Earth didn't develop quantum manipulation technology to threaten the galaxy. We developed it because we had to." Ambassador Lith of the Proximan Confederation, a being of living metal and light, leaned forward. "Had to? Please elaborate." Jared activated a holographic display showing astronomical data. 15 years ago, our deep space telescopes detected a gravitational anomaly at the edge of our galaxy. The Council's official explanation was routine spatial fluctuations. But our calculations suggested otherwise. The display shifted to show predictive models of galactic destruction. We determined that the anomaly was growing, a tear in spacetime, that would eventually reach our region of the galaxy. When our attempts to contact the Council about this threat were repeatedly blocked, we had no choice but to develop our own solutions. Murmurs spread through the alien delegation. "The quantum labyrinth technology that currently holds your fleet? It was never designed as a weapon," Jared continued. "It was designed to stabilize the fabric of spacetime against the approaching anomaly. We repurposed it defensively only after the Council declared war." Ambassador Tavari of the Andaran Republic rose, her translucent form shimmering with bioluminescence. "If what you say is true, Why would the council hide this threat from its own members? Before Jared could respond, emergency alarms blared throughout the facility. A human officer rushed in, face pale. "Mr. Ambassador, we've detected 6 Void Harvester vessels approaching the Sol system. They've already breached our outer sensor grid." The alien representatives reacted with shock and horror. "Void Harvesters?" gasped Lith. "Those are planet killers. Their deployment requires unanimous council approval." "Apparently not," Jared said grimly. "Ladies and gentlemen, I believe this meeting must be adjourned. Earth is about to face an extinction-level threat." As the diplomats rushed to their ships, many already sending furious communications to their governments, Jared contacted Earth. "Admiral Voss, they've sent the Harvesters. It's time for phase echo." In the council chamber, Elder Maris confronted Nextoral with fury. "You've fractured the council. 27 worlds have formally condemned the Harvester deployment and are withdrawing from the Galactic Compact." "Let them withdraw," Nextoral dismissed. "Once Earth is neutralized, they'll return." A junior aide rushed in, interrupting their argument. "High Arbiter, urgent message from the Void Harvester fleet." The main screen activated, showing the commander of the Harvester mission. His image was distorted, his voice strained. "High Arbiter, the humans. They knew we were coming. Somehow they've reversed our quantum signature. Our void engines are imploding. We can't..." The transmission dissolved into static NX. Toral stared in disbelief as sensor data confirmed all 6 harvesters had vanished from space-time itself. "Impossible," he whispered. "Those vessels were our most advanced technology." "No," Elder Maris said softly. "They were your most advanced technology, but not theirs." "Never theirs." She moved toward the exit but paused. "I've called for an emergency session of the full council. It's time everyone learned what you've been hiding about Earth." Elder Maris stood at the central podium, her ancient form commanding respect despite her small stature. Beside her, reluctantly, stood High Arbiter Nextoral, his scales flat and dull with defeat. "Esteemed members of the Galactic Council," Maris began, "for the first time in 7,000 cycles, I invoke the right of ancestral truth. The sealed archives regarding Earth must be opened." Gasps and murmurs swept through the assembly. "The right is granted," intoned the Keeper of Records, a being of pure energy contained within an ornate mechanical shell. The archives are unsealed. The chamber darkened as a massive holographic display ignited above the assembly. It showed Earth, but not as it currently existed. This Earth was the center of a vast interstellar network, with energy signatures and structures that dwarfed even the Council's greatest achievements. "What you are witnessing," Maris explained, "is Earth as it existed 100,000 years ago." The shock was palpable. Even those species with no concept of facial expressions radiated disbelief. The display shifted, showing a devastating war. Earth forces battling against an enemy that seemed to consume stars themselves. A darkness spreading across the galaxy. "The beings you now call humans were once the progenitors," Maris continued. "The first intelligent species in our galaxy to achieve faster-than-light travel. They built the foundation of what would eventually become this very council. Another shift. Earth devastated. Its advanced civilization in ruins, and their final battle against the void. Entities, beings from beyond our universe, the progenitors, sacrificed their homeworld and much of their species to create a quantum barrier around our galaxy. The survivors, their civilization and technology destroyed, began again on their ravaged planet." And Nextoral stepped forward. "What Elder Maris neglects to mention is that the progenitors' weapons and tactics against the void were as dangerous as the void itself. Their quantum manipulations nearly collapsed reality in multiple sectors, and yet they succeeded where no one else could," Maris countered. "They saved all life in this galaxy." The hologram changed again, showing the early council, much smaller, much younger, making a fateful decision. The early council, fearing both the return of the void and the potential danger of the progenitors rebuilding their civilization, made a decision. Earth would be quarantined. Its people would be allowed to evolve naturally but would be subtly prevented from remembering their past or advancing too quickly. A decision made for the safety of all. Nextoral insisted. "A decision made from fear," Maris corrected. "And now that fear has led us to declare war on the very species that once saved us all." The assembly erupted in debate, accusations flying. Amidst the chaos, a new signal interrupted the proceedings. The holographic display shifted to show Admiral Alara Voss, honorable representatives of the Galactic Council. She began, her calm voice cutting through the tumult. We have accessed your unsealed archives through the quantum network. We know the truth now. Silence fell across the chamber. For the record, Alara continued, Earth did not remember its past. Until today, we had no knowledge of our species' history as the progenitors. But we did rediscover quantum physics independently, driven by necessity when we detected the return of what you call the void entities at the galaxy's edge. The hologram split to show astronomical data, the same tear in spacetime, that Earth had detected years before. The anomaly is growing faster than our models predicted, Alara explained. At current rates, it will reach the core worlds within 5 years. Earth developed quantum manipulation technology not to challenge the Council, but to recreate the barrier our ancestors once built. Anextoral's scales flushed with disbelief. If the void has returned, why did your government not simply inform the Council? We tried, Alara responded sharply. 17 diplomatic missions over the past decade, all redirected or blocked from reaching the Council. Now we understand why. She looked directly at Nextoral. You feared that if we learned of our past, we would reclaim our position in the galaxy. You feared our power more than you feared the void itself. The entire Council turned to Nextoral, who could no longer hide his guilt. What happens now? Asked the representative from Andromeda's edge, voicing the question on everyone's mind. Ilara's expression softened slightly. Earth proposes an immediate cessation of hostilities and the formation of a joint defense initiative. We will share our quantum technology with the Council and work together to strengthen the galactic barrier. She paused, then added with steel in her voice. But we have conditions. The quarantine of Earth ends today. The trapped fleet will be released upon formal peace declarations, and those responsible for suppressing the truth and escalating this unnecessary conflict will face justice according to Council law. All eyes turned to Anextoral, whose scales had faded to ashen gray. And if we refuse? He asked, a final desperate gambit. Alara's response was measured but left no room for negotiation. Then humanity will defend itself as we have always done. But make no mistake, the void is coming for us all. United, we might survive. Divided, the galaxy falls. The Council chamber fell silent as the weight of the choice became clear. War against humanity or alliance against extinction. Between humans and former enemies. On the bridge of the Remembrance, Earth's first true battleship built with recovered progenitor technology, Admiral Alara Voss stood with Thelion, once Supreme Commander Thex's tactical officer, and now the liaison between Earth and the reformed Council. The final stabilizer comes online tomorrow, Alara noted, watching the massive structure taking shape. Right on schedule. A remarkable achievement, Thelion agreed, his multi-limbed form now comfortable in Earth's gravity. No species in the galaxy could have accomplished this alone, and yet Nextoral nearly prevented it through fear and secrecy. Thelion's sensory appendages drooped slightly. His trial begins next month. Many still support his decisions, believing he acted to protect the galaxy. From us or from the void? Alara asked wryly. Both, perhaps. The genetic memory tests are unsettling to many Council species. The tests Thelion referred to had been a shock to both humanity and the galaxy. After the archives were unsealed, Earth scientists discovered that the progenitors hadn't truly forgotten their past. They had encoded it within human DNA, dormant until specific quantum frequencies activated these hidden memories. As the quantum barrier project progressed, more humans began experiencing ancestral memories. Engineers suddenly understanding advanced physics they'd never studied, linguists spontaneously speaking ancient languages, military strategists recalling battles against the void fought eons ago. Dr. Wright wants to see us, Alara said, checking a message on her neural interface. The final simulations are complete. In the heart of Luna's quantum research facility, Dr. Darius Wright stood before a holographic model of the galaxy, the Tan approaching void visualized as a creeping darkness consuming stars at its edge. Admiral Ambassador, he greeted them. We've finished our projections using the combined computational power of Earth and Council systems. He gestured, and the model shifted, showing the network of quantum stabilizers creating a glowing barrier that pushed back against the encroaching darkness. "The barrier will hold?" Thelian asked hopefully. Dr. Wright's expression remained grave. "Temporarily. The void has evolved since our ancestors last encountered it. Our barrier will slow its advance, perhaps buy us decades instead of years, but it's not a permanent solution." Alara studied the model carefully. "What about the progenitor archives, the memories being recovered?" "That's why I called you here." Wright activated another simulation. "We've been analyzing the genetic memory fragments from thousands of individuals. They're not random. Together they form something like a puzzle or a key." The hologram shifted to show a complex quantum equation that seemed to fold in upon itself infinitely. This equation keeps appearing in the recovered memories. "We believe it's the foundation of a technology far beyond what even the progenitors deployed in the last Void War." Thelian moved closer to the equation, his scientific training evident in his focused attention. "This resembles theoretical work on pocket universes, creating spaces separate from our reality." "Precisely," Wright confirmed. "We think the progenitors, our ancestors, didn't just encode their memories in our DNA. They encoded the solution to permanently defeating the void. But they didn't use it themselves," Alara pointed out. "Why?" "The recovered memories suggest they lacked the resources," Wright explained. "The creation of the original barrier depleted their civilization, but they planted the seeds of the ultimate solution in humanity's genetic code, to be awakened when needed, and when combined with the resources of the entire Galactic Council, we might accomplish what they couldn't," Alara finished. A communication alert interrupted them. The main screen activated to show President Kapoor alongside Elder Maris, now serving as the Council's new High Arbiter. "Admiral Voss," President Kapoor began, "we've received reports of accelerated void activity in the Perseus Arm. The darkness is advancing faster than predicted." Elder Maris added, "The Council has unanimously approved the Joint Defense Initiative's recommendation. Operation Rebirth is authorized." Alara exchanged glances with Wright and Thelian. Operation Rebirth, the deployment of awakened humans with progenitor memories to key positions throughout the galaxy, accelerating the integration of ancient knowledge with modern technology. "There will be resistance," Alara warned. "Many species still fear what humanity might become." "Fear brought us to the brink of destruction," Maris responded. "Cooperation is our only path forward. The galaxy declared war on Earth without understanding what humanity truly is. Not just descendants of the progenitors, but their chosen solution to a threat they foresaw millennia ago." President Kapoor nodded solemnly. "The awakening has begun, Admiral. It's time for humanity to remember not just who we were, but who we were meant to become." As the communication ended, Alara turned to the viewport, watching Earth rotate serenely below them. Blue, green, and swirled with white clouds, home to a species that had nearly been exterminated by those they once protected, only to become their last hope once again. "When the galaxy declared war on Earth," she murmured, "they couldn't have realized they were fighting against their own salvation." In the darkness beyond the galaxy's edge, the void continued its advance, consuming stars and worlds in its path. But for the first time since the progenitors fell, the galaxy stood united. Awakened humanity and the Galactic Council together, preparing for the greatest battle in the history of existence. The greatest mistake the galaxy made wasn't declaring war on Earth. It was forgetting who the humans truly were. And now, they remembered. I've created the full 5-part story as requested, with each part in its own document. The story follows a suspenseful narrative about humanity's confrontation with the Galactic Council, revealing humanity's true history as the progenitors who once saved the galaxy. Each part is written in third-person style with simple English and maintains suspense throughout, to keep readers engaged. The story begins with a strong hook, showing Admiral Alara Voss facing the intimidating Galactic Council chamber, filled with representatives from over 1,000 alien species. The narrative progresses through Earth's surprising defense against the galactic fleet, the revelation of humanity's true origins, and culminates with humans and aliens uniting against the returning cosmic threat. Is there anything specific about the story you'd like me to explain or modify? Retray Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses. Sonnet 3.7.